Next Rockwolf. Leave your name and number and I'll get back to you.
Hello, hey, look at you. See, we told you those first couple episodes weren't going to be so bad. Now listen, this third episode is where it's going to start getting real, so just keep smiling and remember, you're the face of peanut butter disaster.
Jump scares! Who would have thought that the thing people have been complaining about horror movies abusing for so long would be utilized by a horror game to such effectiveness? The Five Nights at Freddy's series is an indie darling of a pants pisser, and it's achieved trilogy status faster than the infinite improbability drive. Yeah, I know that's not how they work. Just as surely as I knew that you would say that, because I am in control. But let's give credit where credit is due. Not only is the series deserving of praise for its masterful use of limitations on movement, defense, and awareness to turn our own paranoid, spooky minds against us, but the game's creator, Scott Cawthon, harkening back to the so-called glory days of video game creation, produced this game by himself. That ought to satisfy the hipster crowd. One-man programming staff? Retro! Now that Five Nights at Freddy's 3 has been out for a few weeks, of course, the story has been dissected and examined with gusto. Countless internet detectives out there have worked together to put together a fairly tidy timeline of events and outcomes that can generally be expected to be true. I'm not here to dispute or give my own Cliff Notes version of that. Instead, here are 3 questions that linger for me now that the story has been told. I will be discussing some of the outcomes and secrets of the game, so of course, spoilers. Number 1. Who took the blame for the 5 missing children? According to newspaper clippings in the first game, a suspect was apprehended for the murder of the 5 children in June of some year. That suspect was later convicted. And I don't have to tell you that they don't tend to hand out light sentences to child murderers.
Dead man! Dead man walking!
So hey, they got the killer, right? Justice is served. Wrong! The killings continue during the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, as suggested during Phone Guy's call on Night 6.
Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it.
And the killer, as suggested by the minigames, is Purple Guy, the same killer that murdered the children at the previous Freddy's establishment. And the Purple Guy continued to rear his ugly head until he was tricked by the spirits of his victims into getting himself killed inside the yellow wearable Bonnie animatronic suit, becoming Springtrap, as depicted in Five Nights 3. Got all that? Good. That means that someone took the rap for killing the 5 kids at the original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. An innocent someone. The newspaper clippings also indicate that security footage incriminated the man that was captured and convicted. But if we accept that the history depicted in the minigames is true, then what exactly did the security footage show? And how did it incriminate this patsy instead of the Purple Guy? We can only speculate. Perhaps later. Number 2. What are the Phantoms from Five Nights at Freddy's 3? Many fans of the series were surprised to learn that there was only one animatronic in the 3rd installment, a dramatic departure from the previous games. Of course, once the Phantoms arrived...
Where did he go? Oh my god!
We're not... What?
What?
We knew that there was only technically one animatronic. Because ghosts don't count. No solid mass tossed out on your ass, just like Grandpa used to say. They're bizarre, decayed, burned-looking versions of all the classics. But what are the Phantoms exactly? Well, the first and most obvious answer is that they're the same ghosts that have been haunting the suits since the initial murders. But, according to the ending, the ghosts have gotten their vengeance. Purple Guy is dead in Springtrap suit, forced to endure as they have, trapped inside. So, they're free now, right? I don't know about you guys, but if that kind of logic is good enough for Patrick Swayze, it's good enough for me. The other major theory is that they are mere hallucinations brought about by the stressful situation and poor circulation in the Fazbear's Fright attraction. Except hallucinations don't disable electrical systems, which these ones do. I propose instead that these phantoms are like echoes, if you will. The raging spirits of those dead kids were trapped in those suits for a long, long time, suffering, thirsting for vengeance, consumed and enkindled at the same time by their need to see their killer punished. All that negative energy left behind an imprint, a copy, a shadow of the true spirits that had departed once justice was served. Or perhaps they're still even tethered to the Springtrap suit, echoes of his victims remaining behind to torment him even after they've moved on. Did you notice the so-called hallucinations didn't begin until Springtrap arrived?
Well, we made it to the second night, everybody.
No, what are they playing at? Like, seriously, that was too easy. We shouldn't have made it through the first night by accident.
Okay.
I did. Confirmed. Number 3. What about the real villains in the Five Nights at Freddy's story? I'm not talking about the animatronics who try to kill you in every game, or the purple guy who set these events in motion. What I'm talking about is the owners.
Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for damage to property or person.
We learned from phone calls in the second game that originally Freddy was featured at a restaurant called Fredbear's Family Diner, or something like that.
I think the name of the place was Fredbear's Family Diner or something like that.
That suggests, especially within the context of the small fortune spent on the toy animatronics,
They've spent a small fortune on these new animatronics.
that the concept of Fredbear was brought out and expanded into a Freddy Fazbear's chain by Fazbear Entertainment.
Now, I want you to forget anything you may have heard about the old locations, you know.
We are talking about a company that is beyond corrupt. A company that ignored the initial murder associated with the original restaurant. A company that, when presented with a growing mountain of evidence that there were dead kids stuffed into their animatronic suits, their first instinct was to ignore it and buy new animatronics.
They're all tied into some kind of criminal database so they can detect a predator a mile away.
For crying out loud, there were numerous complaints from parents. There were foul odors and the leaking of what looked like blood and mucus from the suit's orifices. And they swept it all under the rug. This is the same company that continued to try to milk those dead kid-containing suits for all they were worth, despite the fact that they murdered night guards. Don't believe me? Listen to Phone Guy.
Hello. Hey, you're doing great. Most people don't last this long. I mean, you know, they usually move on to other things by now. I'm not implying that they died. That's not what I meant.
When he says he's not saying that, he's totally saying that. He's surprised you are still there. Which suggests that there were an awful lot of dead bodies and unexplained disappearances that this company is covering up. Like when they sealed up the extra room with the dead bodies and asked their employees to deny that the extra room existed.
Work crews will be here most of the day today, constructing a false wall over the old door face. Management also requests that this room not be mentioned to family, friends, or insurance representatives.
This is the same company that provided the supposed video evidence that incriminated the man who was caught and convicted for the murders. You know, the one that wasn't Purple Guy and was thus presumably totally innocent. What kind of company would serve up a patsy for these heinous crimes just to settle the matter as quickly as possible? A hopelessly corrupt one. One that seemed to fail to protect children at every step. In that light, are they not in fact culpable in the crimes that ensued?
Fazbear Entertainment denies any wrongdoing.
Thanks for watching another episode of the Rockwolf Files. What mystery from Five Nights at Freddy's still has you scratching your head? Let us know in the comments down below. If you liked what you see, feel free to click the like and subscribe buttons down below. But if you don't like what you see, go ahead and click the like and subscribe buttons down below. I'm not that picky. And say, what's that on the magic monitor? Is it an episode of A Word from Our Sponsors, the wonderful new series that takes a look at the world of advertising through the lens of film school lessons? I think it is. You should click on it. It's a great new show that's over at peanutbutterdisaster.com now. It's a wonderful site with wonderful shows for people with wonderful tastes, just like you.
Peanut butter disaster.